Hey guys, Chris again with Busted Knuckle DIY. '07 Camry. I'm going to show you how to do your front brakes and rotors on this and save a fortune at the shop. Let's get wrenching.
Oh hell, I can fix that. Honey, can you bring me a Band-Aid, please?
Alright guys, so we got the wheel off, so I'm going to show you how to pull this caliper bracket assembly and replace this rotor. As you can see, it's got some pretty deep gouges in it. Brakes are getting thin. This is something you can easily do at home. So where we're going to start at is our caliper bracket mounting bolts that are back here. It's two 17 millimeters. We're going to hit them with the impactor and get them out of there. Okay, so we've pulled the caliper bracket mounting bolts. So now, if you were just doing brake pads, you don't have to do those. You got a couple of 14 millimeters right here that you can just take the caliper off with. But in this case, because we're replacing the rotors, we've got to get the caliper bracket off so we can do it all at one time here. So now that those bolts are out, what I like to do is take a flat tip or standard screwdriver, get in here and just put a little pressure back on the caliper. It loosens things up. You saw it drop. So that way we can get it out of there a little easier. Take a piece of wire or our trusty hook that we made last time. Hook this bad boy up for a minute and just hang it up over the strut spring here like that, so that we don't stress the cable while we're getting the rotor off. Now, a lot of times these rotors are really stuck on here. This one was off very recently as I did a front wheel bearing on this car. If you haven't seen that video, check it out. I'll put the link up in the description box somewhere over there. But I wouldn't expect too much difficulty getting this rotor off. Probably a couple of good taps with a hammer and she'll come out of there. Alright, gave it a tap with the hammer. It's loose. Don't care about hitting the face in this case because I'm replacing it with a new one. So even if we damage it when I'm hitting it, don't care. Because we're throwing it away. We got our brand new rotor. Line it up with your studs, slide it in place. There you go. Rotor is going to hang kind of loose like that until we put our caliper bracket back on. So let's take a look at addressing putting new brake pads in that caliper. Okay, we've got our caliper down, and there are two general types of calipers here, and we're going to get into that in just a second. But to get the brake pads out, okay, there's metal clips on the end here and here. Take that flat tip screwdriver and get in there and jimmy those bad boys out of there. Not a big deal. Okay, and there's the little spring clips on them that can grab you sometimes. This is, it's model to model. They don't all have them, but this one does. So I'm gonna get it loose from those, and then I'll show you how to identify the type of caliper you have and how to compress that caliper without cracking your brake lines and having to bleed them. Okay, so yank the brake pads out of there, and the little piece that I was talking about is right here. It's called a spreader spring. It goes in these holes right here at the tip of my finger on your new brake pads on either side, and actually, physically spaces them out so that you have less friction and less noise and things like that. Two types of calipers. You got one like this, and hopefully you can see the piston has got kind of a big old hole, a crater in it. These are the easier of the two to deal with. All we're going to do is take a big C-clamp, put one of our old brake pads against it, and push it back until it's flush. We're ready to put our new pads in and slap it back together. The second kind of caliper has a flat face with like two depressions in it. Ford, specifically, is famous for this. And you do need a specialized tool because that caliper winds in. Almost every auto parts store in the universe has it. The process is basically the same. You're turning the piston in instead of just pushing it straight back. So anyway, we're going to push this thing back with a C-clamp real quick, and then we'll put these pads in and put this side back together. All right. So big C-clamp here. Don't need one that's this large, but it's what I had laying around. Take an hour and wind this thing in. They do make little tools that you can buy at like the auto parts store as well that are designed to push a caliper piston back, but they cost money and most of us have these laying around. So I'm gonna go up over that, just like that. And to avoid having to thread this thing all the way in, again, we're just gonna take one of our old brake pads and set it in the hole just like this. And push that piston back in there. All right, guys, brake pads are in there. No problem. I said drop them in. Lift up the little clip here. Right there. There's a little flap that sticks down. Lift that up so the pads can slide into position. Right, we pushed our piston all the way back, so we got lots of airspace here. We're gonna go ahead and slap this bad boy back in. Put our 217 mils on. Go to the other side. Easy peasy. All right, guys, there you have it. Yes, this is the other side of the car, so we're all done. About $125 for the parts and 45 minutes of our time. The shop won at $425 to do front brake pads and rotors, so big savings there for a 45-minute investment. We're going to throw the tire on and take this bad boy for a drive. There you have it. Guys, that's how you do your front brakes and rotors and save a small fortune to the shop. Okay, 45 minutes of our time. We saved $300 hard cash. Guys, what does that break down to? It's like $400 an hour for your work. Seriously, don't pay the shop to do this stuff because you can do it yourself, and I'm gonna help you out. If you haven't done it yet, hit that subscribe button. Turn on all notifications as we got a lot of cool content coming up. Give us that thumbs up. Hit us in the comments. And in the description box below, I'll put links to our email address. If you want to drop us a line, and our Facebook, be sure to check it out. Guys, till next time, this is Chris for Busted Knuckle DIY saying, keep wrenching.